to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a color block sweater. To make this sweater you will need a pattern, so make sure you use the link down below to find the pattern. I'm excited, so let's get started. To start off, I knit all the garter stitch squares. I start by using yarn E, which I use a cream color, but you can use any color you want. I also am using 4.5mm knit needles to do most of this project. I started off by casting on the number of stitches indicated in the pattern. After I'm done casting on the stitches, I knit all of row 1. I continue to knit each row until the square reaches the length indicated in the pattern. Once the square has reached the proper length, I cast off all of my stitches. I then make the same square, but instead using yarn color C, and I repeat this process. To make the stocking stitch squares, I use yarn D, which is a light brown color, but again, as with all the squares, you can use any color you want. And I'm still using the 4.5mm knitting needles. To start off, I cast on the number of stitches indicated in the pattern. After I cast on the stitches, I do a row of knit. The next row I do is a row of purling, and I continue the knit purl pattern until the square reaches my desired length. to cast off and tie off the yarn. I then made the same square, but instead with yarn color B, which I use a seafoam green for guarantee. To make the basket stitch squares, I use yarn F and it's still the 4.5mm knitting needles. I started off by casting on the number of stitches indicated in the pattern. After you cast on the stitches, you're going to start by a knit 2 purl 2 pattern. For the second row, most sizes will purl to the knit 2. However, make sure to check the pattern to see what your size says. The third row is going to be the same as the second row, and the fourth row is going to be the same as the first row. Continue this pattern until your square has reached the proper length. Once the square has reached the proper length, I cast off all of my stitches. You're going to repeat this process, but instead using yarn G. For the ribbing squares, I use yarn H, which is a duck egg blue, and then the same size needles as we've been using before. I started off by casting on the number of stitches indicated in the pattern. You're going to start by doing a knit 2 purl 2. For the second row, most sizes will purl to the knit 2. However, make sure to check the pattern to see what your size says. The third row is going to be the same as the first row, and the fourth row is going to be the same as the second row. Once the square has reached the proper length, I cast off all of my stitches. make the same square but instead using yarn I, which is a white color. For the wrong side stocking stitch squares, I use yarn J, and it's basically the same thing as a stocking stitch, except when you sew it on, it's going to be like you're sewing it on backwards, because you start with a purl and then a knit row, versus a knit and then a purl row. For the multicolored squares, I need the yarns J and G, and I'm using J as color 1 and G as color 2. Using yarn 1, I cast on the number of stitches indicated in the pattern. For rows 1 and 2, you're going to knit both of them using color J, and for rows 3 and 4, you're going to also knit both of them, but this time using color G. You're going to repeat these 4 rows until your square has reached the desired length. Once the square has reached the proper length, I cast off all of my stitches. You're going to repeat this process, but instead using the colors A and I. To stitch the squares together, use the stitching diagrams in the pattern. You can use any stitch that you want to sew them together, however just be careful about the sizing, as if you use a stitch, it may result in the size being smaller or bigger. At the bottom of both sleeves, pick up the stitches indicated on the pattern and form a ribbing to the length that's also indicated on the pattern. Sew the sleeves closed to form a loop. At the bottom of the front and back panels, you're going to want to pick up the stitches and form a ribbing to the length indicated on the pattern. On the top of the front and back pieces, you're also going to want to form a ribbing and to form the neckline. Sew the front and back panels together at the shoulder. Then sew the front and back together at the two side seams, making sure to leave an armhole. Sew the sleeves into the armhole. Now your color block sweater should be complete. I had such a fun time making this sweater, and I'm so in love with the end result.